Hello, everyone. I bid you greetings from my estate. As some of you know, we're nestled in the rolling expanses of the southern countryside. But before we embark upon today's thoughtful message, it's going to occupy the next several minutes. I first have to offer you a few preliminary announcements. So, the first announcement, it pleases me to announce that City Tutoring shall start its new term on the where was it here? I had it written down. 7th of September, on Monday. I had forgotten the date because I've been involved with so many other things, but we are starting on the 7th of September. And as ever, we shall endeavor to cultivate the mathematical faculties of our great pupils with precision, rigor, and an uncompromising devotion to truth, as you all know. And for those who have hither sought instruction merely as a means to some kind of superficial accomplishment, let it be known our city tutoring is not an enterprise of the mundane sort. We pursue the edifice of knowledge itself. We're not interested in accreditation and all that nonsense. And to this end, we extend an invitation to those who are new and who possess the courage to confront the abstract, the immutable, and the eternal. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. This is a mathematics channel, although we do often I get into other topics as well. I don't limit myself to one. Some people want you to only talk about one thing. That's going against the nature of human beings. We all have different talents that we need to be able to cultivate if God gave us those talents. But yes, so starting next week, I do want to start with some of the class videos on things like we're starting with logic, abstract algebra. The courses are full now, by the way. I'm sorry. Those of you who did not, I mentioned it several times on this channel. Those of you who did not register on time, the courses are capped. We have fewer than 20 students per course. Well, the maximum we allow is 20 students, but we try to keep it, if we can open different groups, we try to keep it under 20. So now the only option you have available to you is one-to-one tutoring. Which is an hourly rate. But anyway, you know the rates because they're on the website. And if you don't know the rates or if it's confusing, let me know. And I'll take care of that. I'll clarify those doubts for you. The second thing is that, well, though my voice now speaks of order and certainty, there hovers a suggestion of there's transformation in the air, ladies and gentlemen. Changes which shall surprise even the most steadfast of admirers. And I shall not, at this juncture, disclose the measure, the full measure anyway, of these transformations. Suffices to say that the familiar contours that you are used to will soon be altered. And with them, perhaps, the very tenor of our engagements. So keep your attention keen, for history and novelty are both about to visit an unexpected form. For among the many important lessons I've learned in life, I have learned that your entire life can change radically in the course of a few minutes of thought, when God calls you to do something different and entirely unexpected. So hopefully, you will find out soon enough, God willing. But anyway, having attended to these practicalities, let us now turn to the matters that are of true consequence. The nature of mathematics itself and the perilous temptation of intuition. I've been hearing a lot recently, a lot of rumbling about intuition. And I speak to you not merely as a math instructor, as a mathematician. And by the way, some people have this impression that you have to do research in order to be a mathematician. I don't know where people today get these preposterous notions of what a mathematician is supposed to be. A mathematician is simply a person who does math, not necessarily research for some institution or corporation. That's ridiculous. Ideally, a mathematician will, of course, create new math. That is true. You always should be striving to create new math. As G.H. Hardy once said, by the time you get to my age or above, you're not really creating anything new. You're a has-been, basically. You're once a mathematical truth is discovered, you it's done for. It's forever. It's permanent. So, but I always say it's better to be a has-been than a never was, as so many of the critics out there of city tutoring. But I speak to you, as I was saying, not as an instructor necessarily, but a defender of axiomatic truth. And I am a vigilant critic I condemn the illusions of sensation. You see, mathematics is a kingdom that has immutable laws, much like God's laws. Its citadels are the axioms, its fortresses the proof. And to enter, you have to submit not to whim, not to the flattering whispers of intuition, but to the austere demands of rigor. And yet, across the centuries, there have been those who have always been seduced by the apparent simplicity of intuition, and they have wandered astray. And I don't allow my students to wander astray. And today, that's why I want to speak to you of mathematics in its purest form, and in doing so, defend the most venerable of disciplines against the wiles of intuition, caprice, and the vulgar predilections of those who dare to call themselves I'm a man of science. You've heard that before, the physicists and all these time wasters. And it's often said by those who habitually rely upon what they term practical understanding that intuition is a guide. They tell you it's a lantern in the darkness of mathematical exploration. And yet, let me ask you, I ask you with solemnity, what manner of lantern is this that flickers and dies at the slightest gust of logical scrutiny? Because the intuition of the engineer, for example, so-called, is but a torch borne by the blind, whose steps are measured not by rigor, but by expedience. The physicists, you have the physicists too, they are ever eager to dazzle you with experimental contraptions and whimsical notions, and he prances upon the stage as if mathematics were a servant to his designs rather than the other way around. And let us be clear, because mathematics is no servant. Mathematics does not bow to whim. It is not a laboratory. It is not a fleeting observation. It is sovereign, axiomatic, eternal, because it is the language of God. And we hear all these ill-prepared clowns who speak as if though they knew mathematics. That intuition, they keep saying that. They even say that intuition is absolutely required in research mathematics. You may have even encountered boastful claims about it. Oh, my professor is a math researcher, and he says that there is intuition involved. And so I'm not going to offer you a polite disagreement, but scorn. Because intuition, and young people listen to me, is at best a seductive phantom, and at worst, it is a treacherous trickster, leading even the most confident scholar into error. That is the problem. And the mere fact that one thinks, one feels a theorem to be true is hardly a proof of its truth. I don't care about your feelings. Just like you, in reality, you don't care about mine. You really don't. And if such flimsy instincts were sufficient, we might as well allow the whims of fashion or the temperaments of the day to govern the entirety of human knowledge. It's funny how a lot of the people today who go around claiming that they are compassionate and that they have feelings, they are some of the most hateful people you can imagine. All you have to do is go to one of those rallies where you see logical Christians there, and you see the reaction of the campus masses. It's disgusting. And these are the same people who go around saying, make love, not war. They used to say back in the 1960s that the dirty hippies, and it's ridiculous. And we live in an era not of stern clarity, but of vaporous daydreams. Most of the maladies of our time, its anxieties, your unmoored ambitions, your pervasive melancholy, they stem from an inheritance of idealism and fantasy. You see, Gen Z, and many of you watching me are Gen Z, you know I care about you. I really do, because the majority of my students are either Gen Z or Gen Alpha. But you didn't conjure up your own despair ex nihilo. It was handed down to you. I have to tell you these truths because nobody has ever told you what I'm going to tell you. No one has told you this. And it is really a dubious heirloom because you've had parents, the vast majority of you, and you can let me know in the comments, you have had parents who are intoxicated with dreams and abstractions that are fake themselves. Men and women who confused desire with reality. And their children, you now awaken to find yourself surrounded by debts, both financial and spiritual. And so I say intuition is but one more of these fantasies. It offers the thrill of immediacy, the intoxication of feeling certain, all the while leaving one more exposed to error than the drunkard who leans on a crooked cane in a bar. This is a very serious matter, and you're all victims of this delusion. The vast majority, the source, the origin of most of your depression is because of parents who were also idealistic, who confused illusion with reality. And they told you, they whispered into your ears that you could be something that you're not. If only you study a little bit more, you'll become this and that. No. The other day, let me digress before I get more into the mathematical part of pure mathematics and axiomatic thinking. The other day, I was taking my walk and I was remembering a video I saw. I cannot remember which channel it was. If I remember it, I'll link it in the description. And they were talking about some philosophers. And the philosophers were one of the questions that was asked is, what would these philosophers say back at the ancient philosophers, for example, if uh, given that you were in a hierarchical society, if you told them, but why should I be in such and such class? What if I want to be, um, an, you know, a mathematician or something that you're currently not, something that you believe that you deserve? And the answers, the person who was being interviewed did not know how to answer the question properly because you could tell they did not have a metaphysical grounding in what they were saying. And they knew the authors very well. They knew their biographies. They even knew their systems of thought. But of course, if you're not of that way of thinking, it's very hard for you to speak for others. And one of the problems that we see in society today is this idea of misplaced, you don't know your place, basically. And if you were born to be a peasant, you are a peasant. And no amount of pretense is going to change those facts. And instead of scorning what you were made to be, you become you become angry. Uh, no, let me rephrase that. Rather than scorning what you currently are, a lot of you should focus on improving that which you are. That is the proper response to do something. It is not trying to be something that you were not made to be. A lot of you do that. A lot of you try to run away from your problems, or you say, well, if only I do this, this, and that, I can become anything I want. You have a channel. I'm not going to say which one. You all know who I'm talking about. There is a channel that is an example of that. The person tells you that if you just believe in yourself, you can be anything you want to be, which is utter nonsense. If you were born a short guy, for example, you are not going to automatically become a tall guy just because you believe yourself to be tall. That's ridiculous. It's preposterous. But that is the fantasy and the source of so much depression today. So we're going to get into axiomatic thinking. By the way, before I begin, thank you to the gentleman, the young man who sent me this. He's a Roman Catholic, and he sent me this beautiful. It's a beautiful handmade uh, rosary, and I really want to thank you for that. I wrote you a letter, by the way. If you're watching this video, the letter went out, I think, 2 weeks ago. It was a handwritten letter. I only handwrite my letters. If people handwrite to me, to the young lady in Michigan, if you're watching this video, your letter is going out next week, just so you know. But anyway, I will put this now on the side. But thank you. Praise God for people like you. Now, consider, everyone, if you will, the edifice of numbers themselves. Don't you think it's remarkable that what begins as merely counting of objects, 1, 2, 3, can be elevated through the subtle but rigorous thought of piano, probably piano in Italian, and the rigor of Hilbert to a formal system of immutable truth? And here there is no recourse to sensation, no reliance upon the fallible apparatus, some might say, of human perception. One does not ask, does this number feel correct? You prove it. One demonstrates it. And the axioms themselves are the law, the proofs, the inviolable instruments of adjudication. And the so-called intuitive type, he might protest. He will claim that numbers and lines and functions have an innate character, that their truth is somehow self-evident to the mind. And to this, I have to respond with contempt, with the contemptuous serenity of one who is accustomed to logical precision, as we are here at City Tutoring. And such belief is the refuge of the lazy and the timid, the sanctuary of those who would rather feel than prove. I remember in Speaker's Corner in London years ago, young man said to me, I can go anywhere I want. And I said, where are you from, young man? He said he was originally from California. He called himself a citizen of the world. I said, you're still an American. Doesn't matter what you feel. You're an American. You can't be anything else. He said, oh, but my great grandfather, I don't care. No one is interested. You're an American. And you're a clown, I told him. Because he felt, oh, I feel like a citizen of the world. You're an idiot. You may let intuition guide you. I don't know. I don't even want to get into your private lives. But don't let it trespass upon the sacred halls of pure mathematical thought. Don't you ever do that. Look at David Hilbert, who, a great mathematician, who, in defiance of the seductive half-truths of intuition, insisted that mathematics must rest upon rigor alone. That proof, not feeling, is the arbiter of truth. Can you imagine, those of you, if you're a Christian, you're watching, can you imagine a theology of the faith without proofs? Oh, I feel that God is real. That's not how it works. St. Thomas Aquinas would agree with me, among other great philosophers of the Christian faith, great theologians. Indeed, the great Hilbert engaged, there's a famous debate with the intuitivist L.E.J. Brewer, the Dutchman, who insisted upon the primacy of, he actually created the body of thought of intuition in mathematics, and Hilbert, with admirable lucidity, dismissed this claim. It's nonsense. Intuition is really a toy for children, but logic is the only path to certainty. And he taught us that mathematics must be sovereign, unyielding, and impervious to the vacillations of subjective fancy. Don't forget Bertrand Russell, because Bertrand Russell, who, alongside Alfred North Whitehead, sought to reduce all mathematics to logic itself. Russell recognized that intuition, even among the learned, is prone to error, bias, and illusion. It is only axioms and proofs that endure. Intuition vanishes with the whims of the moment. And that's why so many students from the local community colleges who have been lied to, they come to city tutoring, they come to me. Because they know that they're going to get the axiomatic thinking that they need, which makes them excel so well in their local community college classes. And you should consider the paradoxes of set theory that plagued mathematicians at the dawn of the 20th century. The naive understanding of infinity led to contradictions so absurd that the very foundations of mathematics trembled. Or think of the countless obvious propositions that, upon rigorous examination, collapsed beneath the weight of proof. Can you imagine anyone? Would you trust a bridge to intuition alone? Or a telescope? And yet in mathematics, some still do. They're not real mathematicians, but they claim that they understand things that they do not. They don't know how to stay in their lane. And they claim with preposterous confidence that their experience, listen to this, listen to this. They say that their experience grants them a license to trust intuition. Yes, I invite you to laugh and to weep at the folly of such arrogance. You know, if it weren't illegal, and nowadays we have a very expansive criminal law, but back in the day, someone who said something like that would have been punched in the face by another mathematician, by the way. Even mathematical duels were a real thing. Gentlemen knew how to behave. You knew how to respect other people. And I find today some people are very disrespectful, and they know that there is no consequence to their words. And so they are flippant because they know that if you take if you retaliate against them, they can report you. They'll report you to the police, for example, and you'll be in all sorts of trouble for defending truth, by the way. We are living in a society where everything has been inverted. If you actually follow the 10 Commandments religiously, you could be arrested in today's America. I'm not even going to get into the Europeans because they are even worse. So, but intuition is a phantom. It delights, it tempts you, it makes you feel good, it seduces you, but it does not endure. And if you'll permit me, look at our scientific neighbors. Observe the engineer who is forever preoccupied with efficiency, calculation, and the trivial demands of the job market, whatever they want to call it, machinery. The physicists, they claim to admire mathematics, and yet in truth they exploit it as one exploits a horse or an ox. They do it for labor, not for enlightenment. And the physicists, they are really flamboyant with their spectacles and their equations. They will measure the universe in their laboratories, and yet they fail to grasp the axiomatic subtleties that render the universe intelligible in the first place. And there is a certain charm in reality in their folly, certainly, but let's not be deceived. They are artisans. They are not masters. They are not pure mathematicians. You should never go to a physicist to learn mathematics. You should never go to an engineer to learn mathematics. You don't learn proper mathematics that way. Even the most celebrated experiments, like things that are related to the electrical genius or mechanical marvel, they pale when held against the serene majesty of a proof unassailable, an argument that stands as unyielding as the granite mountains themselves. So let the world marvel at the engineer's bridge or the physicist's telescope. I take solace in the clarity of my deduction and the immortality of the mathematical axioms. What else would I care about? Why would I care about anything else? As a if you are a pure mathematician, what's the point of anything else? I ask you. And now to the central theme that's going to be part of City Tutoring. It's always been a part of City Tutoring, but those of you who are new to the channel, it's the central theme is basically intuition is that seductive whisper is a siren call to a half-trained mind. And we have to recognize it for what it is, a perilous temptation, and it is not compatible with our philosophy here at City Tutoring. It is a foe masquerading as ally. It delights in the shallow, which is why it's so popular today, the plausible, again, why it's so popular today, and the apparently evident. But history shows that what is apparently evident is often the most egregious of errors. If you recall the paradoxes of antiquity, the countless missteps that plagued mathematicians before the advent of formalism, every leap of intuition, unchecked by axiomatic rigor, risks plunging the intellect into the abyss of contradiction. And so to embrace axioms is to embrace certainty. And you will always know what to expect here at City Tutoring. To embrace intuition is to you're flirting with a catastrophe. And so the choice is clear. And it is, in my judgment, a matter of moral as well as intellectual courage. You have to renounce the easy consolations of the intuitive mind and dedicate yourself to the austere, to the magnificent discipline of pure, formal, unadulterated mathematics. Intuition, even amongst the most seasoned researchers, is capricious. It may guide the first step, it might suggest a path or inspire conjecture, but without proof, it is merely illusion. It is the difference between a dream and a decree, between a shadow and a citadel. And to elevate intuition to principle is to surrender the mind to chaos, to trust the whisper of a phantom over the certainty of law. So let them boast of intuition all they like, they're clowns. History shall mark them as the dreamers, while we are steadfast in rigor. We stand as the architects of eternal truth. You know, if someone were to have seen my office 10 years ago, they would have said, "Oh, it hasn't, you haven't changed." Of course I haven't changed. I'm here. It's the truth. You haven't changed a bit. You still have everything where it was. Yes, of course. So you young gentlemen and ladies, but I know most of my audience is gentlemen because the reality is that most people interested in math are men, not women. That's a fact. And so I leave you with this final reflection. Mathematics is not the servant of feelings, sensation, and it is not the plaything of a whimsical mind. It is a realm of sovereign truth. It is the language of God. It is guided by axioms, proof, and unassailable logic. The engineers, they may construct bridges. I don't care what they do. Physicists may measure the stars. But only the pure mathematician communes with the eternal. You know, intuition is a dangerous companion. It's always been a seductive phantom. It's a traitor to the intellect. So let them continue in their comforting illusions. Leave them alone. But you will pursue at City Tutoring rigor, the proof, the formal elegance that alone grants immortality to thought. Remember this, it is far better to surrender the fleeting comforts of intuition, convenience, and habit than to surrender the mind to error or unverified fancy. That's even worse. So let this be your guiding principle for this semester. As you start at City Tutoring, many of you watching are starting at City Tutoring this semester. Some of you will have Mrs. Carruthers, others will have Dr. Gockenauer, and some of you will have my class. But your unshakable compass and your challenge is this: you have to embrace the austere, the magnificent beauty of mathematics. You will be unswayed by sensation. You have to be undeterred by the ephemeral. And you have to be impervious to the illusions of intuition. If you are new to the channel, welcome to City Tutoring. My name is Alfred Cromwell. I am the founder and president of City Tutoring. If you are interested in rigorous mathematics that are pure mathematics, the way that the old school way, the way that they are supposed to be taught, the way that they used to be taught for many decades, I urge you to please subscribe to the channel and, or at the very least, support the mission of City Tutoring. Remember that we cannot do it alone. We need your support, and thankfully, God has blessed me with finding like-minded people. And please I ask everyone in my audience, please pray for me. These are very difficult times for me. Something is happening. Um, I don't want to I don't want to mention what it is, but something is happening in my life. Nothing negative, but just pray that everything goes well for me. Thank you all.